Aloha folks, and welcome to today's video. First and foremost, I want to say a big thank you to all those who have been watching in 2021 and continuing into now. Thank you so much. And much gratitude and appreciation to those who actually provide feedback and talk to me about the topics that I like to discuss, because you are my greatest contributors. Thank you. So for this year, 2022, I want to talk a little bit about Pluto. Pluto, the god of the underworld, the god of death, he brings about transformation. Well, death is the ultimate transformer, right? And if you're going through a death, be it physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual, you're going to have feelings of intensity. So you could also say that Pluto is the planet of intense feelings of obsession and of compulsive behavior. So it's though subtle though, because it's more subtle because of the way that Pluto is. Pluto is considered our furthest planet. So when we look at Pluto and his themes for the last 2 years, I'm going to look today using human design. So Pluto's been having this theme of inner knowing. And here's how I am looking at this. Here's how I'd like to describe this. In 2020, something happened. Now you all may be like, haha, Chloe, we know what happened. And I'm like, nah, every single person experienced something different, and every single person needed to know what happened in a different way than the next. None of us really know what happened in 2020. And the bottom line is that mistakes were made. And some of the mistakes that were made in 2020, many of us knew they were mistakes and we were trying to say no. And many of us didn't know they were mistakes and trying to say things like, trust the science. Again, this is an example. So what does it mean when you read something and in your heart of hearts, in the deepest pit feeling of your stomach, you feel a gut feeling that says, no, it's all wrong. And yet every single person around you is telling you that you're wrong, that it's all right. Well, that's the theme of 61 in terms of the shadow, is being in a state of psychosis. When you have a sense of inner knowing that doesn't match your outer reality, there is a problem. And a lot of times people are shoved into feeling psychotic, that they're wrong. So that's what 2020 brought up, was, can you trust yourself when facing a reality that doesn't match your inner world? And are you connected with the deepest part of yourself that knows the truth well enough to know when maybe it's your inner world that needs changing, that maybe the outer world is actually showing you a great enough discrepancy because it's your inner world that needs changing? You know, that's a question that each of us needs to ask. I don't know where you are on your journey. I just know that humanity as a whole, starting in 2020, had the theme of, I need to know. 2020 and 2021 were intensely obsessed with coming to a greater sense of inner knowing. So that started in 2020. So by March of 2021, we as humans felt like we had achieved a greater sense of inner knowing. And with that greater sense of inner knowing, we were starting to do the research in terms of getting a foundation for our new sets of limits. Right? If you can only do simple math in terms of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, once you've grasped that, now we can bring a new lesson. Now we're going to go into algebra. So that's basically what the second quarter of 2021 was about. It was about, all right, you've learned your simple math. We're going to give you some very foundational lessons in simple algebra. I don't know. I haven't done that kind of math in a long time. I might be skipping some math steps, but I hope you get the gist. So we got some simple algebraic lessons in the second quarter of 2021. Because ultimately, what's happening for 2022 is we're doing algebra. Okay. We made sure that we fully comprehended and had our inner sense of knowing for our basic math functions. And it's like, okay, now we're going to use those basic math functions so that we can perform algebra. And we were given a little bit of foundation in the second quarter. So here we go. You ready? 2022 theme is articulation, limitation, realism, and justice. So what does that mean? The theme is, as a question, I would say the theme is, what are my limits? That 2022 will be intensely obsessed with comprehending and potentially surpassing limits. So I threw the word justice out just a moment ago, and I want to explain what that means in terms of this theme, Gate 60's archetypical theme, limitation, realism, and justice. What does that mean? It means that I recognize that I have certain limits, and that limit is that I'm in a human body, and that means I have arms that look like this. I do not have bird wings. I don't have bird wings. So if I climb to the top of a cliff and I jump off just the way that I am right here and now, justice will be served and I will go splat on the ground. But if I do my research and I'm realistic about the limitations that I was born into, then I can go get some training and I can go get a parachute and I can go back to the top of the cliff. Well, not back. I can go to the top of the cliff with a parachute, or even say like a hang glider, and jump and be just fine. And justice will be served in the sense that I did my due diligence and I will eventually safely land back on the ground. That's what justice means in this sense. That's what limitations are a blessing. When I first start working somewhere and I'm being told, let's say I'm working retail and I need to know how to run the cash register. I need to know how to restock inventory, and I need to know how to close the store. Okay. A good boss will limit you to learning one thing at a time, because let's be realistic, trying to learn 3 things at once isn't going to do anybody justice, right? So that's the big theme of 2022. What are my limits? We need to get real. We need to recognize that if we don't do our due diligence before going up against our limits, justice will be served. We will go splat if we didn't do our work, or we will fly if we did. And the bottom line is, you can't overcome a limit until you get realistic in the sense that you know what it is. You need to accept the fact that it's there and get to know what it is. That way you can overcome it. And so this whole pounding against limits all year, we're going to have a bit of a reprieve when Pluto goes into retrograde and then coming out of it. So September 6th to November 11th is when Pluto he'll be in retrograde and then coming back. That's basically a time when we're going to hit a limit and it's going to feel like a block. It won't feel like an obstacle. It'll feel more like a roadblock. And so we'll have to go back a little bit and re-question what we thought we knew from the previous year. It's going to give us an opportunity to take what we've learned by challenging limits so far, take a break, and see what it's like to embody what we've learned from our new limits so far. And that's what we're going to have mostly in October of this year. September, October is kind of the reprieve that we get, in the sense that we won't be quite so obsessed with building whatever it is we're trying to build. Usually gate 60 with limits is going to be, like a regimented, like I'm doing the thing that I need to do every day so that I can surpass. I think of limits as like a staircase. I'm doing one step every day. So it'll be like a little break, because maybe it felt like a portion of the staircase collapsed. So you need to go back a little bit, and maybe there was a fork. Maybe you missed a fork along the way. And so that's what's going to happen in September and on October, is we're going to have a little bit of a break, because it's just going to be so much pounding against a wall. So enjoy that break, and use that break in September and October to really reconnect with yourself, because by November 11th, we're going to be going forward again and readdressing those limits after having, reconnected with our inner selves again. So that's what I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed, and you're more than welcome to reach out if you have any questions. Mahalo and Happy New Year.